We are live. Good morning. Calling the Legislative Committee on Administrative Rules to order, May 5th, 8 o'clock in the morning. First item on the agenda is to convene, review, and approve the minutes of April 21st. While we are getting our papers out, would ask that the LCAR members identify themselves.
I don't even know where the television screen is for this, but I'm State Senator Joe Benning from the Caledonia County District.
And I'm Representative Mark Higley, and I represent Lowell J. Westfield Troy in the town of Eden.
Representative Seth Bongartz. I represent the towns of Arlington, Manchester, Sandgate, and some portion of Sunderland.
I'm Carol Odie, and I represent the far new north end of Burlington.
Ginny Lyons, Senator representing Chittenden County.
Representative Trevor Squirrel, representing Underhill and Jericho.
Senator Mark McDonald representing Orange County.
Anthony Dexter Cooper from the Office of Legislative Counsel.
And in our control booth is Charlene Dindo, who keeps us marching. So first item of the business is to convene and review and approve the minutes of April 21st.
So moved.
Representative Squirrel moves to approve the minutes. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Minutes have been approved. We are 7. We may have Senator Bray come on. He's been out with COVID the last few days.
I think he's traveling in. He said he wouldn't get here. He's coming in. He's finished his quarantine. Yeah.
So first item on the agenda, 22E9, Public Utility Commissioner PUC emergency rule having to do with COVID-19 emergency procedure. Speaking on behalf of the PUC, Steph Hoffman. Ms. Hoffman, welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. So this emergency rule is the same emergency procedures rule approved by LCAR in April 2020, October 2020, April 2021, and last October 2021 with no substantive changes. The rule amends various filing and procedural requirements and provides alternative procedures to reduce or eliminate in-person contact between members of the public and commission staff or other members of the public with each other to reduce the risk of exposure to COVID. After submitting this rule to LCAR, the Secretary of State and ICAR, the commission posted it to our website on our homepage and our rules page and opened a rulemaking case as we have in all the other emergency rulemaking situations over the last couple of years. And we have not received any comments on the rule. And so now I would just open it up for any questions.
Are there any questions for the witness? We'll Senator Lyons.
Now, just to affirm that you indicated there aren't any significant changes or changes in the rules as we're looking at them as compared with the last time that we looked at them.
That's correct, Senator Lyons. There are no substantive changes. The only changes were to a date to adjust for this new round of the rule.
Thank you. I would move Rule 22E09, the PUC Emergency Rule 2.5, COVID-19 emergency procedures.
Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. And the emergency rule, similar to the last 3 emergency rules on the same subject, has been approved. Thank you very much for coming in so early.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
Next item on the agenda, Department of Health, Reportable and Communicable Diseases Emergency Rule 22E08 for the Health Public Policy Advisor for the Department of Health, Natalie Wheel. How do you do?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. The floor is yours.
Thank you for having me here today. My name is Natalie Weil, and I'm a policy advisor for the Vermont Department of Health. With this filing, the department proposes to amend the Reportable Communicable Diseases Rule, and if I may, the Reportable Communicable Disease E-Rule. They are the same rule, except for one piece. There's a difference between the emergency rule and the formal rule, and I will fully explain that difference.
You hear that better?
Mr. Chair, may I proceed with presenting both rules at the same time?
Yes.
Hearing no objection, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So the purpose of this rule is to protect public health through the control of reportable listed diseases. This rule requires the early and prompt reporting of communicable diseases so that the department may take any necessary protective action. There are a few changes being proposed with this rulemaking. The first, adding SARS-CoV-2, COVID-19, multi-system inflammatory diseases in children to the list of reportable diseases. With this rule, there's a requirement that all results of COVID-19 be reported to the department, including negative, positive, and indeterminate. Adding race and ethnicity to required data reporting content. Clarifies, there's an addition of adding electronic reporting to approve methods of reporting to the department. In addition to establishing a legal basis for Vital to share listed reportable diseases with the department. And here's the one difference between the E-rule and the proposed formal rule. And that's that there's an expansion of shared listed diseases with the department from just COVID-19 and Lyme to all listed reportable diseases. So the E-rule required that COVID and Lyme be shared with the department from Vital, and the proposed rule expands that requirement to all listed reportable diseases be shared to the department from Vital. This alleviates a burden on VDH staff from having to individually follow up with providers. And that means that there's a cost savings to the state. So staff are no longer having to use their time individually following up with providers on these reportable communicable diseases. The two rules add standardization procedures for administrative specimen collection practices. They remove certain animal diseases from the list of reportable diseases, clarifies a time frame that reportable diseases be reported to the department, and reorganizes sections for clarity. The department worked with Vital, who have reviewed and support this rule. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions you may have. Thank you.
Are there any questions for the witness? Senator Lyons.
I don't have a question. Thank you. That was very clear with the differences. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much.
And I would say that in reviewing the rules, I don't think I submitted my form, but I would say that they are fine and within legislative intent.
Senator Representative Bongartz.
Good morning. Can you, as you put these rules together, were you in contact with providers about the requirements and the kind of burden that may or may not put on them? How? Just talk about that a little bit, just in case you can ask that question.
Sure. Thank you very much. So, as it stands right now, providers must individually send a positive, negative, indeterminate result of COVID along with all positive results of listed reportable diseases individually to Vital and then to the department. And then our staff must follow up with these providers via phone call, email. What would happen with this proposed rule is that the linkage with the EMR system will allow providers to just send the information to Vital via the EMR, which is a process that's embedded in their normal practices. And they no longer have to send this information to the department additionally, and then the subsequent steps of following up with our staff. So because this process is already embedded in their normal practices, we upon the setup of Vital and the processes that go along with sending this protected health information, providers are alleviated of an additional burden, and therefore they are saved in terms of their time and efforts.
Okay, that's very helpful. Thank you, and very clear, by the way.
Thank you.
Yep.
More questions for the witness? Senator Bray is not here.
So I would move that we vote favorably for and approve Emergency Rule 22E08 on communicable diseases, and also then we should take the other one separately, or can I put them together?
So Senator Lyons has moved that we approve 22E08. Are you ready for the question? So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay, and we have approved 22E08. 22P01, was that, make sure I got the right, the other rule you were reporting on was 22P01?
Yes.
I can just double check that number here.
Okay, and Senator Lyons.
I would move approval of Rule 22P01, also relating to communicable disease reporting.
Been moved that we approve 22P01, Department of Health Reportable and Communicable Disease Rule. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay, and the rule has been approved.
Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for bringing the nice weather. 21P30, Office of Professional Regulation, Administrative Rules for Veterinarians. Request for extension of adoption deadline. Gabriel Gilman, General Counsel, Office of Professional Regulation, Secretary of State's Office.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. I regret being back here, but we discovered, unfortunately, after visiting you on the 7th of April and receiving your approval for the final proposed rule filing of this rule for the Board of the Veterinary Board, about 6 days later, I heard from someone who had asked me about, how do you notice these things? And I thought I'd get an email. And we looked into our process for providing notification, the basic process that we tell LCAR we're going to go through. That's sort of a standard for us. And that is always kicked off by a mass email out of our electronic platform to all the licensees in the field, among other things. In this case, we discovered 6 days after seeing you, that email didn't go out. So most of the, we had a robust process. Most of the veterinarians in the state and other interested parties clearly learned of this through the 5 or 6 other channels that one may learn of it through. Nonetheless, having discovered this right after seeing you, it did not seem appropriate to go ahead with the adopted rule filing without telling you that this had happened. And So why I'm here today, and I say this with some regret, this was clear error on our part, is that what I suppose we ought to do with the committee's permission is to send that email notice and invitation to comment to all the folks that we thought we sent it to way back in August. Hold the rule open for a period of time. I might suggest that 2 weeks would be reasonable to hold it open, and then resubmit to you an updated kind of administrative record with any new comments received and additional responsiveness summary if those new comments provoke any change, or if we need to explain why we have new comments that did not provoke a change. That's just one way to go. I'm not sure if this has occurred before, and of course I regret it, so I'm happy to take any contrary instruction the committee may have. But that seemed like a reasonable game plan from our point of view, but we certainly take any feedback the committee may have as well in terms of what we would be appropriate to do here.
You may be pleased to know that your request is not groundbreaking, and your bureaucratic challenge has been faced by others.
Okay.
So, Charlene, could you, are you recommending we hold our next meeting?
May 19th.
May 19th. That is 2 weeks.
We have a motion here.
Yep. Ready? Want to read the.
Yeah, I'm going to make a motion. I move to grant the Office of Professional Regulation extension on the 8-month adoption deadline for 21P30 administrative rules for veterinarians until June 30th, 2022, and request a letter from the Office of Professional Regulation summarizing any additional comments that are received and whether LCAR action is required to approve further modifications to the rule prior to adoption.
The motion suggests June 30th, a more extended period of time for those of you working with the rules to come to a conclusion. Is June 30th satisfactory to the witness?
Very much. Thank you.
Okay. Motion has been made to postpone action on this rule until June 30th. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. And you have been extended to June 30th. Thank you very much.
And we thank you, and apologies again. Thank you.
We are done except for the discussion of the non-session meeting schedule. Charlene. Uh-oh. Get out here with your whip.
So we would start meeting Thursday, May 19th from 10 to 12. That would be the first non-session.
And
there are two, they're including the veterinarian rule, there'll be 2 other rules that are already scheduled.
so usually at this time of year, we discuss whether Thursdays are a good day, and for several consecutive years, we have all agreed on Thursday, and I don't want to jump any guns here, but that's what is being recommended yet again.
I just, being
Representative Higley.
a newbie to LCAR, Thursday's fine in the sense, but 10 to 12 really, for me, especially if I have to be here in person, takes pretty much my whole day. And I don't know as though I can afford that as a general contractor working, it would mean pretty much a day gone for me. So I'm wondering if there's the ability and what the reasoning is for the 10 to 12. If it could be 8, 10.
I would speculate that the reason, one is tradition, and two, it's a tradition of representatives and senators driving from wherever they drive from to here, and then going home, and you are correct, it takes the whole day if you live in Brattleboro or St. Johnsbury.
Chester.
Senator Lyons.
So I was asking if there is a way that we can meet by Zoom, unless we feel that there is a really, an important reason to be here in person. And for a similar reason, but it is, I mean, we all do come in from 10 to 12 and we get the work done, but it seems like it might be a little more efficient to do Zoom work. The problem is that right now we can't vote by Zoom. And I'm just wondering if there was any consideration through the rules process. And Joe, you're on the rules? No, okay.
If
I don't know what the discussion has been.
If the committee were amenable to coming on the 19th, unless told before the 19th that there was an alternative available to meet Representative Higley's concerns, I will speak to the pro tem and urge Trevor to speak to the speaker to present them the problem of folks traveling long distances in the summertime. And it would be unprecedented because we haven't done this except for COVID, but we'd know what our options might be. Representative Bodie.
Another thing to consider is if we have business that we can get through, but there is no time certain by which we have to act, we could transact the business by Zoom and then only come in when we have to vote on something. Unless that piles things up.
I would refer to council.
So Representative Bodie said it's totally correct. You have your 45-day to act windows. So you could, for example, and you get a lot closer to your 45 days, it seems, over the summer when you're not meeting every week, you're meeting every 2 weeks. But you could either look at your agenda and see if you can skip more meetings and just not come in as often in general, or you could talk about the rules via Zoom and then be here in person for your votes. You're then going to have sort of like a disjointed, oh, wait a minute, now I'm voting on this rule that we talked about and the minutes would be a little wonky. I think your sort of easier paths forward would be to get joint rules to say that you could meet remotely. And I believe the House just did a resolution in the last couple of days for one of your standing committees to meet remotely, right?
It was ethics committee and there was actually 3 of them.
Yeah, so,
And it was based on the fact that we have this hybrid technology currently. And for instance, if we had 2 rules that would take 15 minutes, it makes no sense to drive here. So it was sort of, and that was the same conversation around those committees that sometimes there's only a short period of time where you really need to meet and talk. So they were given permission for that process. We should have a conversation with them and the speaker.
so it would be a similar resolution.
Yeah.
It would just be
Yeah.
a joint resolution to.
It's all, just to add to the chorus, it's also wasteful
Very bad.
of time, all of our time, and actually, however many gallons of fuel I use coming up from back and forth to Manchester for really no real reason most of the time. And you have to be in person. And that costs the state money I have to spend. So anyway.
Yeah, it was 3.
Save money.
Panels.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So hearing, unless there's an objection to scheduling for the 19th with the notion that if we get some, from higher up, an alternative way to deal with things, we'll be meeting on the 19th and hopefully thereafter on a hybrid situation that's been approved for the reasons discussed. Okay, we all set?
Yeah, my apartment anyway.
Any other business to be brought before LCAR other than got 3 or 4 days of nice weather to change our personalities?
Oh, and next week, it's going to be like summer.
Change to
It's going to be extra.
Welcome when we show up at home.
change to a sunny personality.
Having just recently heard from Representative Linda Myers, I'll channel her energy and move to adjourn.
Senator Benning has moved to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Nay. Thank you very much.
All right.